Can anybody see me on the screen right now at all? Let me know if you can see me okay, because I do not see me too well. Okay, yeah, I look okay on there. All right, cool. My preview was messed up. Sorry, guys. We're going to share this link on the other deal. Let's see here. Stand by with me here as I try to make sure everybody knows that we're over here now. I'm not sitting on that other video. Unfortunately, for some reason, it was stuck on my webcam settings from home, and it doesn't work with OBS, which we're here back at work, and blah, 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 which you guys don't care. Just get on with the show, and I'm going to do that here in a second. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So, panic has now subsided. Let me get the chat link up on the new. You guys are getting all this live, baby. Panic. Okay, here we go. I think we're better now. Okay, so hopefully everybody will join us as everything gets transitioned here. I put the link on the old chat so that you guys can jump onto this one, because unfortunately the old link, the YouTube link, was jacked. It thought I was still on my laptop at home. Can everybody hear me okay? Sound check, visual, we look okay, and we'll get rolling here in a second. And thank you all for joining me tonight. Been busy, and we're running behind. Yes, I am still just as ugly as I was at home and previously, before COVID and after COVID. If you didn't know or didn't pick up on it, I had tested positive for COVID-19. I did okay, no problems, thank God. Everyone's fine. No one got any type of massive outbreak from me that I can tell. And we're doing all right. The reason my voice is a little coarse tonight is we had chicken pad thai for lunch. It was a little spicy, and I coughed a lot, and I threw my voice out a little bit. So hopefully this beer from Lavelle Brewing Company is going to help me with that. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me here. This is PBH Live, episode 38, I believe. Tonight's topic is going to be S197 3-valve 2 Coyote swaps. We're going to start soft tonight and go over the generic, the basics for everyone who's kind of new to it, so we can cover that. I think this is going to be a couple episodes deep because there's a lot of information to cover. There's a lot of variation. We'll get into probably gauges and some of the finicky wiring probably in the next episode. I want to go over the generic stuff, but tonight we have a bunch of product updates and announcements to make. Some of them are related directly to our products. A new engine offering that we offer that we just came up with. That's kind of a throwback to something we had before. And we have something related to my car in particular, which we have touched on previous shows about the new wrap and some of the events we're going to try to go to this year. So we'll start off with our hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Frank Perdomo. I work here at Powered by the Hour Performance, and we specialize in Coyote swaps, 6RD transmissions, 10RD transmissions, and some of the Godzilla stuff that's potentially happening. We are in West Palm Beach, Florida, right at the end of the airstrip at Palm Beach International Airport. Our website is pbhperformance.com. This is our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, please follow, please comment. Comments are now important to our analytics and help us grow the channel. So if you have a question or even a generic comment about the show, the chat room is awesome, but definitely leave a comment in the comment section of the videos. It helps YouTube recognize that there's activity here, there's a pulse, and they want to get it out to other people, like and search for the same things we're talking about here tonight. A phone number, 561-737-2331. You can call us Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The email, info@pbhperformance.com. That's going to get you through to one of our 4 salespeople, which I am one of. We also have Travis Dean, Frank Pezzo, and Christian Papa as well. You can email me directly, frank@pbhperformance.com. If you want a PBH hat, that is the email you're going to be using. That is on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. It'll be going the whole time. So if you miss it one time, I got it set pretty slow. You can always catch it in the next few minutes. Tonight I'm wearing my Lavelle Brewing hat. We visited there. They're close to Fort Myers. They have some really nice beer. And tonight I will be drinking their Courthouse Cream Ale. Live on the show. It's delicious. If you're ever in that area near Fort Myers, between here and Fort Myers, basically in southern Florida, visit LaBelle Brewing Company. Can't miss it. It's just about the only thing in town. Definitely nice. That's going to help me get through this stuff. All right. Chat room is live. We're going to be covering some of the chats that are in there. The super chat is also live. Super chat is for anyone who needs to get an answer right now, cover my topic, address me, and also for people who just want to show support to the channel, which we're going to give you another opportunity to do that here in a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit more permanent, I would say. A little bit more permanent. So, we're going to start off tonight with a few announcements, like we talked about products. We got a few things. We're going to cover some tech things, Coyote Swap PSAs, and we're going to cover some new products. As always, I will tell you, if you are installing one of our low-profile modular Ford power steering pump brackets, you have received this little red tag. It looks like a dog tag in your kit. This is a tool. It is a reclocking tool. You will use this reclocking tool to reclock the mounting position of your tensioner. If you do not, you will be calling me going, Frank, why is my tensioner hitting my power steering pump? And I'll go, hey, what'd you do with that red plastic thing in there? You go, oh, I threw that away, or I gave it to my son, and you didn't know, we thought it was a spacer or something like that. Well, no. Use that to go ahead and drill a new dowel position for your tensioner. That way your tensioner doesn't hit your power steering pump. This is strictly for the low profile modular Ford power steering pump bracket offerings in our speed drives. Okay, that I always like covering. So another thing we're going to cover here real quick is, yep, that's the right one. All right, we're going to go down to some of the new products. All right, so we have added a few products this week on the website. I'm going to add links to this in the description of the video when we're done. The first one is going to be for our transmission cooler kits. I've had several guys ask for a trigger switch for it, something that coincides with the thermostat that's inside the 6R80 and the 10R80 transmissions. Now, it's not built into our 6R80 fittings. You don't have to run this. You can run it straight to 12-volt power, so when you turn the key on, it turns on all the time, but you're not going to get fluid through the cooler until the thermostat opens. You can put it on a switch, which is generic as well, or you can use this little guy now. So this little guy will allow you to basically hook right to the fittings on the transmission before you go to your lines that lead to the cooler. And it has a 180-degree turn on and a 165-degree turn off. So you run your power from your power source going to the fan, of course, fused and a relay, and you run it to this switch here on top of the fitting. When it hits 180 degrees, which is when the thermostat opens up in the 6R80 transmission, it'll then send power to your fan, and voila, your fan is now on a thermostat. I think it's something like $35 on our website. Like I said, we'll have a link to it in the description. It's a very easy way to upgrade your fanned cooler that we include in our transmission cooler setup. No fuss, no mess. AN female on one side, male on the other. Is really, you can add it to your current setup if you want to do that as well. It's very, very easy to do. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to post them up and we'll get them, or you can leave a comment on the video during the replay. Next product update is Quantum fuel hats. We do now have Quantum 465 liter per hour fuel hats on our website. If you're looking to do a fuel system for your 86 to 90, I think it's up to 97 Mustang, this fuel hat is a direct replacement. All they're basically doing is offering their high flow fuel hat. They cut the bottom of it off. They give you this really low profile clamps with a 465 liter per hour pump, which is a massive pump. You can probably get away with this and a booster pump on some supercharged applications and use your stock tank. They offer it in a -6 setup or a -8 feed and a -6 return. I would say this is good for somebody who's boosting on pump gas. I would still think you need a booster pump just to make sure you got it covered. There's no such thing as too much fuel. But on a budget, this is an option. We're going to be upgrading some of our fuel system offerings for the Fox body with this pump now. And we do offer it separately, which is what we'll give you a link to in the description of the video here shortly. Let's see what else we got. Oh, a new engine offering. We have gotten several custom orders in our crate engine program for Generation 1 long blocks or crate motors. Now, we weren't able to do a complete crate engine, but we are going to start offering a Gen 1 long block. And what that means is you're going to basically be getting a Gen 2 long block, Gen 2 heads, valve springs, bottom end, but we're going to make the changes necessary to run it as a Gen 1. So it'll be compatible with Gen 1 computers, control packs, our control pack, the works, but it will be a Gen 2 short block. Actually, it's a Gen 2 long block with the variants already done to it to make it operate like a Gen 1. It'll be a sealed long block, valve cover to oil pan. You get the balancer, you get the timing cover, you get the water pump. You do not get an intake, you do not get wiring, you do not get coils, you get spark plugs. And if you want to make any changes to it, we will offer those changes. So if you want to upgrade oil pump gears, we'll do that for you. Even if you want to add head studs, we can do that as well. We've done that on a few of them for people as a special request. And as you know, a Generation 2 long block is known to handle upwards of 700 to 800 horsepower in some cases, and is definitely a little bit better as far as more robust. It's essentially like a 1314 Boss 302 engine. So the rest of the stuff you'll have to outfit yourself, but we can give you the bones. If you already have a Gen 1 Coyote swap and don't have an illuminator motor option, and maybe you don't need 1,000 horsepower capable, this is a good little option. It's $74.99. And as you see it out there on the screen, it's basically what's going to... Now, the photo I use, I think, is a Gen 1. Actually, no, it's a Gen 2 on there as well. And that's essentially how you're going to get it from us. We will be adding this to the website. This is something that developed here in the last day or two. We haven't been able to get it launched. And we will start offering it, and then you can actually option to get those upgrades at the same time. So if you want to add oil pump gears, if you want to add head studs, you want to add a speed drive, something along those lines, we'll have all those options listed on the website as well. So look for that to be something. If you know somebody who's looking for that, we're building one of these right now for Gumby Saunders. He's got a guy who has a Coyote swap, and the motor's hurt. It's a Gen 1. He didn't want to build an engine. And sure enough, we have what we need. So we got one in the works for him, and we're moving crate engines like crazy, which is great. We're moving a lot. We're helping a lot of people with builds that way to make sure they're not getting stuck with the wrong parts. So, alrighty. So those are new products. I'm going to give you one tech update. It relates to starter motors. There's a lot of you now doing Generation 3 conversions. You're getting Generation 3 donor engines, and that means there's some components you're trying to use from your Gen 3 that you need to know about, and one of those is the starter motor. The starter motor in Generation 1 and 2 is very similar to the older modular Ford starter. It's a 3-bolt mounting point, or mounting flange. The Gen 3 engines, manual and automatic, have a 2-bolt mounting flange. And coincidentally, those 2 bolts line up with 2 of the 3 bolts in the 3-bolt design. So you literally can bolt it up. But the point where it plunges in, I think even the tooth design is different. So in this case, we had a customer contact us saying, hey, I put a QuickTime bell housing and a T56 behind my Gen 3 motor. I had a starter, it bolted up, but my starter is just hitting the flywheel. It's not going anywhere. It's not allowing me to start it. And we looked into it, and sure enough, they're different. So if you're using a QuickTime bell housing, you got to have the 3-bolt version. Even if you had a Gen 3 motor, even if it bolts up, it's not going to work. Here's a quick picture of the difference. On the left of your screen is the Gen 3 starter, as you can see, 2 bolts. And on the right of your screen, right up here at the top, you'll see there's 3 bolts. The 3-bolt version is what we offer our starter shims for. If you're using a QuickTime bell housing, a 3550, anything other than the MT82 that came behind your Gen 3 motor or your 10R80, you need to be using the starter for your bell housing. I won't say uniformly across the board, but if you're using anything that's designed as a modular bell housing adapter, or it's a 4R70W or something along those lines, you need to have the still have the 3-bolt starter. Now, someone's commenting there, Mark Warren, saying that the Gen 3 manual starter is still 3 bolts. I wasn't able to confirm that today, but if that's the case, we'll make another announcement about that next week. I'm going to try to order some and get them in here. This guy told me he had an MT82 and he had a 3-bolt starter. So maybe he had a 10R80, maybe, I don't know, maybe he got that and he didn't get the transmission, who knows. But based on what he told me today, this fixed his problem, and he had a McLeod dual disc clutch set up in there, so keep that all in mind. Oh, I'm missing a lot in the chat room, and I apologize for that. We'll say some hellos before we get into the topic for the night. Insane Mustang, what's going on, brother? Frank Weaver, Matthew Plavidal, what's going on, baby? Jason Friedberg, what's going on? Cooter Baby, wow, that's a new name. I like that one, Cooter Baby. Root Beer, Mark Warren, just mentioned you. Thank you for that information. Root Beer again. 2000 MCR, what's going on, brother? Let's see who. F150 S550, another regulars in the house. Juan Arturo Velez Toledo. I said that right. I nailed that. Beer time. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I don't know what happened with those settings, but I'll figure it out here. Okay, here's a good name. I'm Hung Solo MF. Very nice. Jordan Dunning in the house. What's going on, brother? I'm glad you got your t-shirt finally. I was a little delayed getting those gifts out around Christmas time because we're short on t-shirts and stuff like that. We got it all out, and it still looks like everybody got them. Jose Delgado, how we doing? RGGT. Let's see. Who was the Danimal? How you doing? Project T-Type Coupe. What's up? Foxcast Media. Caleb from Foxcast Media in the house. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, please do. You actually see a lot of our products on there as well. He's got and I think he's giving away a car here soon. Blue 99, what's going on? Alfredo Diaz, how we doing, brother? He comments that he has the Quantum Pump, super nice quality. He had the 320 liter per hour before I recommended going for the big one out of the gate. Also run the Vibrant hose versus the metal lines. Yeah, metal lines are always kind of iffy. I like Vibrant along with a lot of the companies like Frigola, Russell. They use the Eaton style line, the Flex LP line, like 4 Innovations use. That stuff's cherry. It's really, really nice. Oh, let's see. Jeremy McClellan. You guys ship to Canada? Yes, we do. We also ship to Australia, and we can pretty much ship anywhere in the world. We have access through DHL. Some of the stuff requires you reaching out to us and getting a shipping quote, but on our website right now, it will quote Canada, Australia, continental US. If you're anywhere outside of those, you got to email us. Okay, Blue 99 has a question. Hey Frank, can your guys' Coyote Swap fuel system be upgraded? Yeah, just hit me up. Comment in the video, in the chat, send me an email. Let me know what you need to upgrade, and we can do it. It's pretty modular. Obviously, the stuff that's on the website's pre-built as a kit. If you want to change something there, you have something better you want to go to, just let me know. We can put something together. Anybody I miss here? Let's see here. Everybody, Root Beer hitting me up. Hey, you got a shirt. It says thank you for supporting the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, we did mention we're going to have a way for you to support the channel even more and a little bit more permanent. Now, we had commented during my last broadcast, which wasn't last week, unfortunately, it was a week before, from my man cave. I am working on a rendering for the wrap on my car. It's going to be part of the rollout of the vehicle as we try to get to some events this year. What I've decided to do, and I've never done this before, but I'm going to offer for you guys to help me afford the wrap or help sponsor the car and give you an opportunity to get your face, get your avatar, get your name on the car so you're with me in everything we do. It's going to be part of all of our YouTube videos moving forward, and it's going to be on the deck lid. Now, the idea is the PBH Live logo is going to be there, the YouTube Live logo, and I think we have room from 5 to 10 names and avatars on there, if we can get enough of them on there. The goal here is trying to raise enough money to help offset the cost of the wrap and then give you guys some spots on it so we can do it. So it's affordable for us to get out to all these events that we want to get to. So basically what I'm thinking is, to start, if you donate through PayPal, not through the Super Chat, because YouTube takes like 40% of the Super Chat stuff, but we will give you a link. If you request it, email us, say, hey, I want to be a what do you call it, a video sponsor, a viewer sponsorship is what I'm going to be talking about. There's going to be a thank you message on there, the PBH Live logo, your name, a photo of your choice if you want to use your avatar or something else. If you have a shop name that you want to put on there, we'll put that on there as well. Obviously in good taste. Unfortunately, there's some names that are a little tough to maybe put on a company-related vehicle. But if you make a donation of $250, you will get your name on the wrap. You will also get a limited edition PBH Live viewer sponsor hat. If that intrigues you, I have made a quick rendering of what I think it might end up looking like. And this is it. this is what potentially looked like. Obviously, the deck lid's not going to be gray. It's going to be wrapped. We're working on a design right now. It's going to be kind of retro, kind of funky. We're hoping. I'm working with our wrap, the CRD wraps here locally. He's working with me, Chuck. Chuck, you might know that name because he has a badass F100 that we've worked on here before. But this will be an opportunity for you to be on there and be part of the build, essentially. It's something that, obviously, anything that gets donated to the channel is very humbling to me because, you know, I'm getting paid to have a lot of fun and do cool stuff. And this will be another way for you guys to interact with the channel. You know, if you're interested in doing it, email me and put the wrap in in the comment section. Make sure you email me directly, frank@pbhperformance.com. And as you can see, I just put some generic names. I grabbed some avatars just from people who are on the channel on a regular basis. And you can see username. You can fit a longer username and even longer username. And then there's Steve Scheckenberg. He's already part of the program. He's donated a bag of peanuts. But it's my way to get you guys involved. If you're interested in doing it, you don't have to. You can just say, hey, nice car. That's all I need from you as well. So you guys, what do you think? Give me some feedback on that, whether it be on the chat tonight or super chat or email. But basically, yes, you will be able to be part of it, and you're going to get a little bit of swag out of it, I would say. You're going to get a free hat, a PBH Live hat with something, maybe a thank you or maybe even your name on the hat. What do you think of that? And Wild Horse Racing mentioned your shirt. It is on the way to you, brother. You're just in Canada and everything takes forever. The 250, honestly, I don't think we're going to get to wrapping the vehicle for a couple months. So it's something you can do now, later on. You know, I'm in no rush. We're probably going to leave that part of the wrap to the end just in case things change. Obviously, if everyone goes crazy and we get, 20 people involved in it, then it's going to impact what the wrap looks like. So, and maybe if somebody wants to donate a big chunk, we can work something out that way too. But I'm not looking for that. I want to have as many of you guys on it as possible. And if we get enough people, maybe we can even lower the price a little bit because I'm not looking to make a buck off of it. I just want to try to afford it and get it on there and make it as fun as possible. Roush used to do this in the IMSA series. They used to do this thing called Distractor Face. And people would send crazy pictures of themselves, and they would put it on the back of the car. And that's kind of gave me the idea of having you guys involved and getting on the wrap itself. And you can say, hey, my name's on that damn thing. Come see an event, sign it or something. Who knows? So let me know what you think. If you want to be part of it, that'll be awesome. It'd be great to have everybody on there and be part of the build and kind of give back in a way a little bit. And again, we'll get some cool hats done. Probably something along the lines of my PBH Live hat here. PBH Live, maybe put sponsor on the side, maybe put somebody your handle on the side of it there too, and do it in some cool colors, something that matches the wrap. Maybe we'll do a silhouette of the car or the car itself on that. Who knows? The sky's the limit. There's all sorts of stuff we can do. So if you guys are down, email me, frank@pbhperformance.com, and we're basically open to get you involved, and you can be part of it and be part of the videos as we go out and get this vehicle out into the wild and start taking on some bigger fish than the local stuff. So, LaBelle Brewing. So, tonight's topic is 3-valve to Coyote swap. Now, like most Coyote swaps, a lot of the same things apply. In general, the Coyote swaps are going to have your basic components. But when we get into the S197 cars, and in particular your 05 to 09 cars, because 2010 is a little bit more particular, there's a lot of things that we can kind of intertwine and use. Now, traditionally, up to now, I would say that the 96 to 04 cars are probably the easiest ones to swap. The S197s fall in that same category. It goes even a little further, though, because your 05 to 09 cars are essentially the same chassis that the Coyote engine ended up being debuted in as far as in a Mustang. So your K-member in an 05 has the same footprint as an 11 to 14. What does this mean for you? Well, a Coyote motor will bolt right in to an S197 without having to change the K-member. So that means there's $400 or $500, upwards of $1,800 in some cases, off the budget. As far as control packs go, we have developed a harness for Generation 1. It's being still developed. It's been problematic, and it's still not available to the market. So I don't want to touch on that too much because it's a pipe dream right now, because I don't have it in my hands and I don't have it in stock and I don't see it in mass quantity yet. So we're going to take that off the table. We're going to treat this like a regular Coyote swap, because that's essentially what, if you're swapping one this weekend, that's how it's going to be treated. So control packs are in play. Every control pack is in play. Every engine and transmission is an option. There's a lot of things on the S197 that you can reuse, similar to a 96 to 04. Cooling fan is one of those things. You can reuse the OEM cooling fan. You can reuse the OEM radiator. And the key to that is going to be, obviously, the control packs give you a trigger wire for that cooling fan, but it's not going to be able to power it efficiently, because OEM cooling fans take a lot of juice, a lot of amperage. So continuous duty solenoid is going to be part of your conversion when you get to the cooling fan. Degas bottle can be implemented. You can either use the one that it had from the factory or maybe use the Coyote one. I would probably lean towards using the Coyote one if you can fit it in there. When it comes to your accessory drive, without tooting our own horn, we have the perfect solution for you. You already have a power steering pump and you already have an AC compressor, and you can reuse both of them. Using our brackets, you're going to put them back in the stock location. That means your stock power steering lines, your stock AC lines are going to stay on the vehicle. Another thing I'm going to tell you is K-member wise, the 4.0 V6 K-member is the same as the GT. So if you're looking to do a V6 to Coyote, you're not going to be able to use the accessories, but you will be able to use the K-member. You will be able to use the fan and the cooling fan, and the radiator, and then the rest of the stuff you'd be changing naturally in the Coyote swap. Cross members, you don't have to buy an aftermarket one if you're using a 6R80. You can use an MT82 and not have to worry about the shifter. So if you're looking to go on the cheap and still have a manual, you can either use, I think it's the 3550, that the Tremec 3550 that was in there, or you can use the MT82. You can even use the stock drive shafts or replace them with the one piece, which is probably what I do, so you don't have to worry about the carrier bearing and stuff like that. Automatic transmissions, you're not going to want to use the 5R55E. That's gone, because if you go to use it, you're going to have to buy a separate controller for it. If you have a 6R80, you use the 6R80, buy the control pack, and go. You're going to upgrade tremendously. The 5R55E is never known as a performance transmission. As soon as you supercharged a 3-valve, you were having to rebuild it, and there was no way around its weak points. It just wasn't designed to handle power. The 6R80 obviously can. The 10R80 can, and the 10R80 is an option too. Even the shifters, the stock ones, could be modified to work with the 6R80s. Or you can put the 11 to 14 shifter in there. You can see the pattern here. A lot of the stuff can be used either from the factory 3-valve car or a factory 11 to 14 car. So the solutions are very OEM. And that's a really nice place to be, because it leaves less for you to figure out. Fuel system. And this is something I'm going to touch on now, but I want to try to circle back to it. That's the press secretary's word there. So we're going to circle back to it in the next show, because I want to talk to you about potentially using your 11 to 14 fuel tank, fuel pump, and FPDM, and going returnless just like factory. We're going to dive into that in another episode. But right now, what I can tell you for sure what you can do is use a return style fuel system. How do I do that? Well, I believe it's Deechworks sells an upgraded pump that goes into the 3-valve hat. TI Performance or T1 Performance makes replacement hats. Those hats can be modified for return style use. For Innovations sells return style hats, and there's a bunch of other companies that have economy return style fuel system hats. You still need the same fuel requirements because we're using the same engines. I would say 255 liter per hour pump or higher, or multiple pumps if you have boost in mind. As long as you set it up return style, it's NA, regulator, 58 psi, static. Hook it up to your fuel rails, feed, and return. If you're going to go boost, same thing applies. Make sure you're taking in mind that most of the PD blowers use aftermarket fuel rails. You need all your fittings and stuff like that. 58 psi is your base fuel pressure, but you're going to need to give it a boost reference. Usually, if you're going to use a stock hat, you can poke a hole in the plastic hat and put a bulkhead fitting and make it a return style. The only other thing we would recommend doing at that point is drilling out holes in the basket. That way, it's not trying to contain fuel in there. It's allowing fuel to kind of go around so it doesn't get too hot and allow it to basically mix with the rest of the fuel in the fuel system. Fuel level sender was wired independently on the 05 to 09 cars. It goes directly to the cluster, has nothing to do with the CAN bus. So you don't have to worry about the fuel level sender being some weird thing that doesn't work. But we're going to touch on gauges once I get more information about them. We're working with the guys at Foxcast Media and Dover's Garage on one of the last versions that we're testing of this harness. And he's got some messages coming up on the cluster. That cluster is CAN bus. Everything from 99 and up in the Mustangs is. So where we're going to run into some issues, some roadblocks, is how compatible is Gen 1 with your Gen 1 Coyote computer with your 3-valve cluster? How compatible is a Gen 2 PCM with your 3-valve cluster? How compatible is a Gen 3 engine with your 3-valve cluster? I would love to just start whipping up boxes to convert these things, but they're just not out there. And honestly, we've never really found a good solution for it, and we're still digging for it. But the 3-valve cars in general do offer a lot of opportunity to do a swap cheap and quick. You don't have to buy a K-member. Headers. I mean, how many times have we talked about headers? Do they fit this K-member, that K-member, that suspension, this chassis, this and that? On a 3-valve to Coyote swap, you're using 11 to 14 headers. Stuff that's vetted and it works. It clears the steering shaft, the K-members, all that stuff. You can even use the mid-pipes that are offered for the 11 to 14 cars. You could probably even get away with using the over-the-axle pipes from an 11 to 14 car and the mufflers, if you so please. So a lot of bolt-on solutions to get this project done. Now, there's no way if you into Fox bodies to convince you to do a 3-valve car if you like Fox bodies. This isn't a conversation to change or veer what you're planning on doing with your car. But if you do have, and you like the styling of the 05 to 09 cars, which I personally do, and I think they're great chassis, they're out there and they're pretty affordable. And like I said, depending on how you buy the Coyote power plant, you could do a V6 just as easy. So that's pretty interesting to me as well. I think it opens the door to a lot more guys doing the swaps. I wouldn't be afraid of doing one right now. Where we're stuck again, similar to the 99 to 04 cars, is gauges. Trying to make sure that they work 100%. Make sure, like traction control is probably going to be a thing of the past. In these cars, you do have ABS. ABS is independent, so you don't have to worry about rewiring the ABS. You just leave all that stuff intact. You're going to be able to control your AC compressor just like you would in a Fox body, a New Edge, an S197, a vintage car. It's wired independently from the computer. So all you're doing is making sure that your switches, relays are triggering the compressor when you want it on, and you leave everything else intact. Let me look over my notes here. Cold air intake. You can use cold air intakes for an 11 to 14 car. You can use the stock air box that comes in your control pack. Now, the power steering reservoir on a 3-valve usually mounts to the engine, and obviously that's gone. And mounting it with the Midway Mustang bracket isn't an option in the 3-valve. Now, in the JLT cold air kits, I remember they would relocate the power steering reservoir to the fan shroud, which gave a lot more room for the cold air kit, and you can do the same thing in this situation. You can use our new cold air components to make sure that you have a no-tune required option. If you want to make a custom tube, you can use off-the-shelf 11 to 14 components as well, which is really, really nice, and you don't have to worry about them. I don't think you're going to have too many issues clearing the cooling fan. A lot of the space, a lot of that stuff is the same. Now, I'm going to be relying on some of the data and some of the experience that you guys have run into if you've already done this swap. We've done one in-house. I want to kind of do another one, honestly, because it was kind of like a throw together thing, and it'd be nice to really get into it in the nitty gritty and try a bunch of different projects, but we haven't had the opportunity to do it yet. Courthouse Cream Ale. So, what do you guys think of an S197 swap? Overall, that chassis fixed a lot of the inherent problems that the Fox chassis had that spanned from 1979 all the way to 2004. They finally upgraded the differential. The 8.8 that comes in the 3 valves is already 31 spline. It's full disc brake. It's got a vacuum booster. You don't have to worry about hydro boost. The vacuum booster fits with a Coyote motor. You don't have to worry about going to manual brakes unless you have to. So a lot of the stuff that we're used to overcoming isn't an issue. And the brakes work really, really good on a 3 valve or an S197. The differential, 31 spline, upgrade the posi, have fun. The suspension, geometry-wise, is already fixed. It doesn't have a triangulated 4-link. It has a 3-link. 3 links handle well, and they can handle power as well. The front end, upgrades. You can still do your camber plates, do your lowering kits. You can do airbags, all that fun stuff. Sky's the limit as far as that goes. So if you can find yourself a cheap S197 and you find yourself a budget beater Coyote powertrain, you and a buddy could probably get this job done with the right amount of parts purchased ahead of time. With hand tools, a couple jacks, a cherry picker, and knock this thing out in a couple weekends. I think if you got it in the right hands, you could probably knock it out in 48 hours. And still be able to go have fun and have enough of the car operating where you're not going to piss off the neighbors. So that's what I wanted to cover tonight, kind of laying the foundation for your S197. Again, generation 1, 2, and 3 are all an option. 6R80, 10R80 are all an option. All your standard transmissions are an option, including the MT82. If you want to save money, buy all that stuff together, throw it in the car, have a good time. So what do you guys think so far of doing an S197 Coyote swap? I think that you'll find it's probably going to be the easiest car to swap. I think what will really throw that over the top is if we ever did finish developing our 3-valve harness. And one of the things I'll mention about that, because it seems like we just dragged our feet on it, we didn't. Our business took a monumental shift in 2020, and in a good way. But it forced us to really concentrate on warehousing and ordering, because our volume levels went up. Everything that we did worked. Everything that we've done with interaction to our customers and customer service and product placement has worked. And the result is good and terrible, right? We're busier than ever, and it's taken our ability to develop an R&D products away a little bit, because we had to focus on the foundation in our operations, our fixed operations. So that's why you've seen a little bit of the product development kind of slow down. It's been smaller upgrades and updates, things that we can tackle a little bit easier than having hands-on, because right now our shop is full of crate engines basically being built to be shipped out. 6R80 is being built to be shipped out, and that's why we don't work on cars anymore, because we don't have the space, and we'd have to hire 10 more guys to be able to do that and have a separate building for that kind of stuff. And that's a big leap to take, considering we want to make sure that we don't lose our culture. What we're basically applying how we like to deal with our customers, how much time we like to spend with you guys. We don't want to jeopardize that. So these are the transitions that we're involved with right now. So S197 swap, I think we're going to be covering this over the next 2 or 3 episodes to try to get as much information out there as possible. And in between, please comment questions, email me with questions, email me with information. If I say something that you've seen different, let me know. We'll discuss it, and if the information is right on, we'll broadcast it, we'll put it on the show, and make sure everybody knows about it. We're not trying to force everyone to buy everything from us and corner you into us and you only use our catalog. We want to try to find as many solutions as possible, because this is definitely something that anyone, I think, with the gumption, with some testicular fortitude and some tools and a YouTube account, can knock out of the park. Fox bodies are the same way, but I think they're a little bit more expensive. So I always get asked, how much money is it going to cost me? Well, if you want to do it the cheapest way, I think the 3-valve S197s are going to be the way to go. Now, 2010, I mentioned it's a different animal. 2010, Ford changed the body. It's the same body as we had in 11 to 12. The body harness is the same in a 2010 as an 11 to 14. So, if it's the same, you can change the PCM. You can put a different engine harness in it. You can use a lot of OEM equipment, and it'll all work. The CAN bus schedules are the same. So a 2010, even though that is true, it's still some hurdles to do. It's going to be different challenges, and there's going to be less aftermarket support for it, I would say. Like our Speed Drive will still work, continuous duty solenoid. Well, you need continuous duty solenoid. You can use the stock fuse panel. So it might be something that the 2010 guys, which is kind of the bastard child of the Mustangs in general, was that kind of tits on a bull kind of thing, which was, here's this new body style. It looks awesome. Stock 3-valve, no power. I buy it because I think that's going to be a great looking car and I want the latest body style. Oh, by the way, here we are 9 months later dropping a 400 horsepower Coyote that completely changed the Ford landscape of engines. And you're sitting there holding a 5 or 6 or 7 year note on a 2010 GT going, ooh, but what about me? Well, if you held on to that car, you can make the update and finally have what you didn't have back then. So, and some of you might say it's fine. I like my 3-valve, everything's good, but we're talking about Coyote swaps, so I don't really, that's fine. I don't really want to discuss that too much, but 2010s, there's the opportunity to use a lot of OEM equipment. So those cranker pallets now have a different value if you're doing a 3-valve S197 or a 2010, because now potentially you can use more of what you're getting in a cranker pallet. I think there's going to be quite a few people that take it in that respect and try to start flipping these things. Coyote swapping 3-valve S197s and 2010s and going, here, it's updated. I bought it cheap. I put some sweat equity into it. I bought the used parts right. And for 15 grand, you can have a Coyote swapped older car. Some people like that older body style better than like the newer one. And that's fine. So I like them. They were cool. They're very retro. So, LaBelle. All right, so what is going on in the chat room? Here, let's try to read through some of this stuff. I don't see a whole lot of questions in the super chat, so I may miss some stuff. It looks like you're having some conversations in there on your own. Events. I know Caleb has an event coming up, Ford Takeover. Maybe he can post up about that in there as well, or put a link up to the event. So if you guys are in the striking distance to his event, you can try to make it. I unfortunately don't think I can make it, but I wish we could, or maybe I can just fly out there or something like that and just be there on site to cover it. Who knows? We'll figure that out. But I love seeing those guys, hanging out with those guys. They're good friends of mine, so we'll definitely get out there. Bill Tumas did also get COVID. If you don't know Bill, he is the face of CJ Pony Parts. He's a good friend of mine. I hope he's doing better, and I hope he gets over this without too many issues. He's been posting about his experience with COVID on Facebook, and it's been a little scary. I didn't have the same experience, thank God, but I chatted with him the other night and try to keep him positive. So, keep him in your prayers, I would say. And on a personal note, I will wish my parents a happy 47th wedding anniversary and a happy birthday to my sister. So what do you guys got going on here? Lorenzo Enzos, I'm going to try to just start grabbing some comments here and going with them. On the 3-valve, I use the complete 11 to 14 exhaust system all the way down to the hangers. The only thing I'm puzzled about is the AC connect, since I have the V6, but for the most part, everything else fit. So, yeah, the V6, now, the V6 accessories are different than the GT. Our accessory drive stuff works on the 4.6 accessories, which the 3-valve has them, AC and power steering. Your V6 stuff, we're not going to be able to use as far as with our accessories. It's not going to bolt right up to a Coyote engine. So wiring-wise, if I remember correctly, The AC compressors on these are 2-wire, maybe 3. So it's just a matter of finding the trigger wire, power, ground, whatever is going on there, and making sure it's applied from the switch. Some of the control packs had relays and fuses for AC, and they can be rewired to be for that reason, but they were designed for the Coyote style, which was CAN bus trigger, and you got to change the trigger wire going to the relay because the one that they provide doesn't work. So let's see. Jose Delgado, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate the support there. He has a question. He says, what do you think are your chances on getting another trophy to put on your left side next racing season? I think they're pretty good. Now, the autocross, we're going to go out there. I think it's the 26th or the 28th. It's going to be the first event that I can get to here locally. And I'm going to be using that to try to set the car up for the bigger events. I hope I can get out to a lot of them. There's no reason I can't, because other than maybe tires, because I don't have to pay entry fees because I am a existing champion. Now, they did change the rules. I'm no longer in unlimited. If I trailer to the track, I can now run in the V8 class. I think that spells doom for a lot of the guys that I saw in the V8 class before, because I don't think they were running as hard as I was. Now, the other thing they did is they combined the boosted V8 guys with the NA V8 guys, because there aren't a whole lot of boosted V8 guys. So if someone shows up with a blown C5, that's a formidable car. Someone shows up with a Audi R8, something like that, one of the V8, a BMW, with launch control and stuff like that, it's going to be a battle. It's something that in the other autocross events I don't have to worry about running into, because they're mainly vintage cars and that's all they're allowed to, and we all pretty much have the same makeup. We're all using V8 power, as big a tire as possible, change suspension. Very few have ABS, very few have launch control. The good guys events aren't that quick. Maybe you go 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. The King of the Mountain event is a little bit different because the cars are a little bit newer, but the cars from the era that my Fox is from. So your 90s, it's called late or mid muscle. It's nothing too new, it's nothing too old. It's kind of in the middle, and there are cars in there like the Corvettes that are formidable, and they're going to be a tough nut to crack, and I'm willing to take a swing at them. I'm not afraid to put myself up against those cars, because I think the Fox Mustang is missing from those events. Mike Trinkle kind of is holding our flag right now, and he's got a monster of a car, and I want to see how I drive and how my car lays up against those bigger fish. And the local stuff is fun. It's testing us. They're going to be changing the courses on us now. Before, we were running the same course all the time, which was cool because you can always have predictable settings and see if you can get quicker in this section or that section, tire pressures and so forth. But now that they changed the layouts, that may change a little bit. But they're still running on the same tarmac. So they're either going to run in reverse or have a cut through or something like that. It shouldn't be too crazy. Let's see. Arthur has a question. Is that solenoid required to run the factory fan or 99 to 04 swap? Yes. I would say any factory fan, whether you're using an old Taurus fan, a Contour fan, dual fans from a 15-17, from 11 to 14, you only get a 40 amp relay and I think a 30 amp fuse in the control pack box. You hook that to an OEM fan, it's going to blow the fuse. It's going to get hot. It's going to pop the relay. So you want to use a continuous duty solenoid, and what that does for you, it's kind of like a dampener in a way. It's storing power so that when you get that heavy load, it can handle it. Now, you're still going to use your fuse and your relay and your trigger to go to that continuous duty solenoid. You're going to treat it like a second relay in a way, because it's going to trigger the relay on one pole, you're going to ground it on another, and you're going to feed a direct battery power on another pole and then come out of it and go to the trigger on your cooling fan. Once you have those four things hooked up, if they're all healthy, you shouldn't have a problem running a stock cooling fan. If it's a dual fan that's stock, I would consider using two continuous duty solenoids to control both of them, because they both draw a buttload of power. And you don't want to melt the fan or melt the control pack. You also want to make sure you're wired properly so you're not backfeeding the fuse panel and melt the shit out of it, because if you destroy a Ford Racing fuse panel, guess what? You're buying another control pack. Or you're trying to put an aftermarket fuse panel in a control pack, and that's no fun either. Let's see here. Root beer. What's the easiest way to permanently disable traction control in a 15 plus GT without disabling ABS? I don't know, man. I think on that, you're messing with buttons. Because the only way we've ever been able to permanently disable traction control on the cars for drag racing is by disconnecting one of the ABS sensors. If you disconnect one of the ABS sensors, you got no ABS. So, to disable traction control, I would think hopefully that there would be something in tuning that could be potentially done, but the ABS system it's all CAN bus, so I don't know, man. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it without rolling through the buttons. The problem with that is sometimes that system turns back on, and you may not notice it, and you may be on the track, and all of a sudden it's on, and it could throw you for a loop. So we'd have to dig deeper on that one. Maybe ask your tuner to see if it's something they know that they can do. I know, for example, we can put ABS on older vehicles because the ABS system does run independently. So it'd be interesting to see if you can disable whatever connection there is between the computer for traction control to the ABS unit and let the ABS unit just work as an ABS unit. But I think you're going to find they're intertwined. And when they're intertwined like that, it might be hard to disable one versus the other. Or maybe put an aftermarket ABS system in there. Oof. I don't want to think about that. Let's see. Arthur asks, I purchased a bleeder screw kit. Am I okay to use that even if I still run the degas bottle? I don't think you can, because the nipple that we're removing from the Coyote engine to install the bleeder screw kit does connect to the degas bottle. So for proper OEM function of the degas bottle, you're going to be using that same port. If you have that hooked up, you don't really need the bleeder screw kit, because your degas bottle is the highest point and it will vent any air that's in the cooling system. If you do have a stubborn amount of air in the cooling system, you could do the quick on and off method, which is fire the car up is a circulating, which I haven't heard anybody really have one lock up like that. But if it does happen, just pull the hose off real quick, protect yourself, let it purge, and then put the hose back on. On heat exchangers, that was always an issue, because electric water pumps, being remote mounted in nature in the vehicle, they could get locked up with air. And one of the easiest ways to do that is, if you saw you had no circulation in the tank, is a guy reach underneath there while the coolant was still cold, and just pop the hose off real quick and then put it back on. It makes a huge mess. Make sure you take care of your environment. But if you did that, it would usually get the air out of there and let it kickstart, circulate, and get the bubbles out of it through the reservoir. So I would probably lean towards leaving that nipple in place and using the hose on it in that situation. Tap It. That's a cool name. Can I Coyote swoop a 2010 Ford Adrenaline 4.63 valve? Yes. In short, I would say you can Coyote swap anything. But I'll tell you, just because it is a modular engine, the Coyote engine is going to fit. You can reuse your cooling fan. You could... It's a 3-valve. That, I forget what transmission of those. If it's a 5R55E, you're doing a 6R80 or a 10R80 Coyote swap. In that case, you're going to mess with custom drive shaft crossmember, most likely. Motor mounts will work. Exhaust might be something special to figure out. If you can get 11 to 14 headers or the stock Gen 1 shorties to work, or other aftermarket shorties to work. Gauges, CAN bus, so it's 3-valve. You're replacing with a Coyote computer. You hook it up and see if you can get all the message center to work. You should get all the data. It's close enough, I would say. Fuel pump, you need to have to treat that as well. You know, bigger fuel pump, return style system to mimic the returnless system, so we have consistent fuel pressure. It can be done. I think it's been done. Honestly, I think BBR did one back in the day. You can probably look up how they did it. It was probably early on, so maybe some of the tech that's out there on that car potentially maybe doesn't hold up today, but all the basics need to be followed. It's just applying it to that chassis and seeing what the roadblocks are going to be. The gauges will be a roadblock. If you do a 6R80, potentially shifter cable could be a roadblock. drive shafts, an expensive roadblock, fuel system modifications. That's something you're not just going to buy. And that's about it. There's still going to be plumbing and fabrication that needs to happen as well. So, yes. Are you going to do it? That's going to be up to your skill level and what you're comfortable doing. And then if you're going to pay somebody to do it, make sure you know that budget-wise, it's probably 100 to 200 hours of the work to do it. So, let's see, what did I miss here? Swoop, there it is. That's right, brother. Swoop. Lorenzo Enzo asks, what kind of options route do I have using the 3-valve degas bottle? Notice the 11 to 14 3-port while the 3-valve has 2. I would probably lean towards using the Coyote degas bottle if you can get that to fit it in there. That way you don't have to worry about doing any custom routing, but most likely what's happening there is something would have to be teed in. When you tee things in, you got to make sure they're flowing in the right direction. So it's going to take a little bit of study of how the 3-valve system is flowed versus the Coyote. That's something we can cover on the next episode. I'll get some diagrams and compare them. And let's see what tech is out there on there as well. 3-valve degas on Coyote. So we'll touch that on the next episode along with some more gauge information. We're still gathering some information about that stuff so we can share it with you. Traxy. Am I saying that right? Traxy? Missed the start. Would love to do a Coyote and 6 or 10 speed auto swap in my 2001 F-150 4x4 pre-runner. But wait, if it's 4x4, how's it a pre-runner? Isn't pre-runner 2-wheel drive? Where do you go? But there are so many systems, and I live in California. Complicated, eh? Yes, absolutely. Everything in California is super complicated. You would have to, I would imagine you're going to, based on the year of the car, the truck, it's 2001, are you still dealing with emissions? If you're dealing with emissions, we got a buttload of problems, because if you're doing inspections and emissions, they want to plug into it and find the VIN number broadcasted of the chassis. I don't know how you get around that. Emissions, we have to make sure that works. It's going to take some special massaging to make all that stuff work, because it's not all compatible with each other between the different computers and engines and so forth. So it may take some special work stuff that is going to cost you more time and money to do. Do I know that you can get that done? I believe there is a way to get it all done. I don't think you're going to find a roadmap anywhere. I don't have all the answers for you in that respect. And I believe there are ways potentially to operate the transfer case from the Coyote engines and the 10 speeds and the 6R80s. I think that's something that's going to be coming online here soon enough as well. So you keep 4-wheel drive with the donor parts, or you can run a divorce transfer case, or you can try to adapt the one that's from the truck into your, that kind of stuff. So that'd be interesting to see what it takes to do all that. Haven't really found a surefire way to get all those systems to work and gauges and all that stuff. So let's see here. Vacuum bleeding almost always best. Quickest way to bleed them. Absolutely. The vacuum bleeders, if you have access to it or you can rent one, that's going to knock it right out for you. Again, that bleeder screw kit is something that we put there in the case that you potentially run into a problem. I'll be honest with you, I have not seen a ton of people have that problem. I've never run into it here on my car, and I've opened the cooling system a couple times. So, but it is an easy way to plug that hole and get rid of that nipple. It's a little unsightly when you're getting rid of the degas bottle. You can very simply just tap it and put a plug in there, or you could use it as a location for your water temp sender for your gauges. It is one of the hotter parts of the cooling system, so it's always going to read the hottest reading. So keep that in mind as well. Let's see here. Yeah, we're going to circle back to a lot of this. Yeah, that's acceptable now. Some more comments on California. So pre-runner isn't always 2-wheel drive. So what's a pre-runner then? My understanding was always when it was 2-wheel drive off-road setup, you had a pre-runner. So I'll have to look that up and see what pre-runner then means. I got the wrong concept in the melon here. I always thought 2-wheel drive off-road trucks were pre-runners. Maybe it's a model number or model name too. I'm not sure, but let me know. Traxy also says emissions up the butt. Need to swap a complete engine, ECM, etc. Woo! And get a special exemption for having a newer engine in an older car, I would imagine, because the more they talk about making electric vehicles, I just remember Cash for Clunkers, where they're going to want those things off the road to potentially enforce and push that initiative a little bit harder if they're going to invest in it. So I think my thing with electric cars is, you know, the writing's on the wall when they start telling you your car's not safe. It's not safe for you or me. I think that's going to be the angle they really kind of take to push the electric initiative. And the electric initiative's already here. We know it's fast and we know it's viable. We'll see environmentally if it really makes an impact, because manufacturing that stuff, I've heard a couple different things potentially that's terrible, it's a little bit better, whatnot, but we'll see. I mean, electric crate motors are something that are already being talked about. Conversion, electric crate motor that you can put in your Fox or any project and convert to electric. Are there going to be hub-based motors like Tesla? That may be something too. I've already seen that actually for Hondas, so it's already there. It's here. It's not going anywhere. It was actually here a long time ago. I think the first cars Mercedes ever built were electric. So keep that in mind too. Yeah, who knows? I think that's the sell job, Jose, is what I'm thinking. Is when they start talking about how your gas vehicle is just not safe. You need something that drives itself, because you're too busy. You're not safe behind the wheel. Look how many people die on the road every year. They don't talk about it all the time, but they're going to talk about it when it sells what they want to sell, right? I don't think so. Let's not go too far into the rabbit hole. It gets pretty deep. We just eclipsed a full hour here on the channel, and I want to thank you guys for being on here. If you have any questions on what we discussed here, or maybe you missed the show and you're watching this replay right now, leave a comment. We will answer it. It may take a day or two to get to it, but we will get to it. If you need it answered right now, Frank, where are you? Call us Monday through Friday, 561-737-2331, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can email us, info@pbhperformance.com. You can email me directly, frank@pbhperformance.com. We got 4 salespeople on the sales force. We got our website, pbhperformance.com. Follow us on social media. Facebook and Instagram has been quiet lately, but we're going to start getting some more content on there. We're going to start working on some more videos for the YouTube channel as well, not just do the live streams, because I miss doing those videos, and they are very good for our traffic, and they get a lot of information out there, and it puts it out there, and it's kind of permanent. It just sticks right there. Like our things you need to know for Coyote swaps eclipsed 80,000 views the other day. That's a milestone for me. So it's really, really cool to see that. And thank you guys for all your support. Thank you for being here, sharing this time with it. Go watch the dating channel on Alex's channel there if you're into that kind of stuff. And if you're interested in being on the wrap, I'm pushing my wrap guy to CRD Wraps, Chuck Reese, and his badass truck to really finalize the design. We're going to start working through that process here now and brainstorm. And then we're going to have a big debut of the rendering. And that's when it's really going to go into motion. If you want to get first in line for that stuff, email me. We'll work it out and get things going. I think it's just going to be really cool to have you guys with me in even that small respect as we go and do this stuff, because you guys have been part of the development of that car since we started talking about it here on the channel. So it's really cool. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. We'll be back next Wednesday, 7 p.m., full hour. We're going to be talking more about 3-valve Coyote swaps and some more of the intricacies of the gauges. We're going to talk about that degas bottle question that we got earlier. If you have a question that you want us to cover, send it to us, email, phone call, comment section, share the video, like it, subscribe, all that stuff. Help me out. And if you like the content, support us, let your friends know. Be here. Chat's always live. Super Chat's always on. You can be part of the channel as well and be part of what we're doing here at PBH. Thank you very much, guys. You have a good night, and be safe.